And I'll introduce, so this is about what's new in Moodle. As you know, we have a new instance of Moodle every year, and we also have upgrades all the time. So this is our opportunity to sort of get you caught up with how Moodle might look a little bit different, and how you could make it look even more different, and some of the really new spiffy things that we think are going to help you with your students and your classroom management issues. So to kick it off, we have many people may not know Marilyn. She came to us as an admin LFC and graciously moved into doing at least a good part of her time assisting faculty. She's kind of a free-floating, I think, you're not assigned to any particular department, but she does help out with the academic side now as an academic LFC. She's dual roles. And so she's going to start us off by talking about the navigation in Moodle and some things about the dashboard. And there's Eric. Hey, Eric. So with no further ado, Marilyn, you can take it away.
Yeah, I'll share my screen here. Can everybody see my screen? Yes? Okay, great. So the first thing that's different is the summary view. In the earlier version, I have them both pulled up. In 2019, there was a couple different views that you could have. And now we just have the summary view, which shows your full course name. And it also shows the category. So my courses show that they're in the miscellaneous category. The other thing that we've changed is the course overview. So instead of having them filter by times, I believe last year was past, future, and in progress, we just have all starred and then removed from view. So what you can do is you can star a course and then only see your starred courses, or you can see all your courses. If you've removed a course from a student's view, it'll say hidden from student view here as well. And then you can also just see, like you could last year, the course name and then last accessed as well. Under my courses, it'll show all of your courses for the academic year as well.
Hey, Marilyn.
Yes.
Nathan, just a quick comment. The option to hide a course that's over there is just for you. Like you could take it out of your list and that doesn't affect hiding it from the students, which is something you do inside the course itself in the settings. Just wanted to clarify the difference there.
Right, sorry.
No, it's good. It's good.
Yeah, so this view is only for you as the individual. So it just shows how you see your courses. I think that's it as far as what's changed in navigation, unless any of the other academic LFCs think, or Bonnie thinks of something else I should share. I think that's all that's really changed as far as on the dashboard view for navigation.
That was good. Thanks for the overview.
Okay, and then I'll stop sharing my screen here and somebody else can share now.
Great. So sorry for the kind of late jump in, everyone, but I'm happy to kind of navigate us through our list of what's new for Moodle moving forward for the meeting. If you do have any questions, of course, please make sure to chime in on the chat, or, this is, probably fine to even just chime in with your microphone. If you have a question on the fly, we'd be happy to address those. We're going to be moving pretty quickly through all of these. So if something's unclear, please let us know. Next, we're going to cover our Moodle templates, kind of a new refresh for these. And I think we have, who do we have covering for that?
I got it.
Christy's got it. Thank you, Christy.
Yeah, so I'm going to share my screen and just kind of go over how the templates work. And so in our What's New in Moodle document, Marilyn just covered this navigation piece. And so I'm going to talk about the templates a little bit. So there are two new templates. In the past, we've had a clean template, which uses auto-linking and clean design. We now have a summer template, which just has a 7 to 8 week structure and a different picture up in the course banner. And then something where a lot of people are really excited about is this new grid template. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate for pulling in the grid template. And so we actually have this in the current Moodle, which is what I'm going to work in for right now, but I'll show you another course that has grid template applied. So here I have a course, and it's set up in this format that's collapsed sections. So you can close the sections, or you can open them and close them one by one. So that's kind of our default course format. So if I'm going to pull in a template when I've already got a course designed, then I may need to change that formatting. So I'm just going to go to the archives block. You get to your blocks by clicking the orange button in the upper left corner, and then scroll down about 3/4 blue. You'll And so this will take me through the steps. And basically, when you're restoring, all you really need to do is scroll to the bottom of the screen and find the button that lets you go to the next page. I'm not restoring this as a new course. You wouldn't see that top part, only admins see that. But under restore, merge into the course means I don't want to replace anything. I want to keep what I have and bring in more. So I'm going to click continue. And then I'm just scrolling down and clicking that button that lets me go to the next page. You can see the steps that you're on in the restore process at the top. So this is just confirming what I'm bringing over. And so we're going to see if this applies the grid format. So on the flip side of this, if you already have a course that's set up in grid format and you pull it into a course that's set up with collapsed topics, you might have to go in and change a couple formatting settings in the course settings itself. And so what this did is it pulled in a new banner. So I have my old banner, here's my new one with the front of Hagfors, and I can edit this label and make changes to the topics. And so this is still in collapsed topics format. So it didn't actually change the format. So I'm going to show you how to do that. And we do have instructions where it says additional steps may be required that explain how to go and set up the grid layout. And there's two different options. During the restore process, I could have made some changes, but I think it's a little easier actually do option 2. And I'm not sure, thank you. So under course format, so I'm gonna go back into my course and edit the settings for the course page. And then I need the course format section. So I'm going to click to open it. And instead of collapsed topics, you would select grid format. And then there's one more thing you need to do, which is to show the sections, one section per page. Otherwise, when a student clicks on a section or a week, it opens up kind of in this floating window and it doesn't always display the way you would like, depending on how much content you have inside. So we want it one section per page, and then I'm just going to go down and save. So those are the two settings that are important. And I'm going to turn editing off to show you. Now I would have this grid layout. So I would most likely take all of this content and move it down into these other weeks. And with editing, when editing is turned on, go back up to the top, sorry for all the scrolling. What I could see is that I could add images to these tiles, but I would change the title heading and any content and below where the tiles appear. So that's how that would all work. I'll just show you quickly. the Zoom resource site I've been working on that's in a grid format layout. You can kind of see what it would look like as a more finished product. And I'm going to view this as a student. And so the student would come in, this would be the course. And so they could go into a section, and then it opens up with a section on one page, and they can use these arrows at the bottom of the screen to go back and forth. So they're not scrolling as much through the class. And they can come back to the main course page and then find whatever week that they would need to be going into. So that's what the grid format looks like. So you can pull that in from the template. We'll give you some links at the top. What I don't have in my Zoom course are these, are this section right here. So you have this auto link to announcements, to the help and questions forum, to your syllabus, to your schedule, and to Zoom. And so you'd want to make sure to keep these names the same. So when you add your course schedule, you would simply call it schedule so that this link will pick up your schedule in the course. So if you have any questions about how to work with this, you can certainly contact your LFC or Bonnie, and we'd be glad to help you apply the grid template. So are there any questions about templates before we move on to the auto editor, which I think goes back to you, Eric?
Can we create our own templates?
It wouldn't be a template that you would find in the archive block, Michael, but you do have a practice course site that you could go ahead and create something that you could use over and over again. You could create a backup of that course and then share that backup with other people. But if you want a departmental template, then we could help you set that up.
I was just thinking of just for me, because I do tend to use the same structure over and over again. It would be helpful to have kind of a blank copy of it.
Yeah, your practice course would be a good place to put that, or I could even create a blank course for you that you would use as your template. It's just that it would be best just to create a backup file so that you didn't have to, because it would be in the past. I guess you could pull it in through the archive block too for a few years anyway.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
Christy, where it says week 1, week 2, Bonnie already tried to answer this for me, but I can imagine me and or a student sitting there going, what week is this? Is this week 4? Or so can I go in and make that a date?
Yeah, you can either manually put in dates, and there's also a way to add dates to the section headings automatically based on the course start date, but that it can get a little tricky depending on like what day of the week you consider your course starting, especially since, you know, we start kind of the semester in the middle of a week.
Yeah, we can go over that together. I was just thinking they would have a hard time remembering or have to stop and think which week it is every time they go in the grid.
Sure, yeah, you can add dates.
Christy, I don't have a lot of different devices, but are there some templates that are just better for all devices? Well,
we have a responsive theme, so it should be fine on mobile devices. I don't know of any issues right now that have come up, but if you find anything, let us know.
The idea is the templates give you that great pattern of learning for your students, and that it's also, if we use these templates in all of our different classes, then that's going to reduce structural stress for our students as well. Moodle won't look really different when I go into one person's class as opposed to another. Whether you use the standard or the grid format, those like patterns are the same, so it should not be disorienting to them. So we're really encouraging people as we move into this more virtual fall for both us and our students to really consider rebuilding your course using one of these templates, either the standard or the grid.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and move on to our next topic, which is our content editor in Moodle. I'm gonna get my screen shared here to do a little quick demo. Is everyone hearing me okay? I heard some comments that maybe I'm a little soft, so please let me know if I'm not being heard very well.
Much better now.
Thank you. Our content editor, for those of you who are just not even sure what that term means, it's really where you're placing your content, typing in a lot of items when you're building your course and ongoing within your delivery. So I'm going to use a couple of examples in this very briefly. One is a very flexible option called the label. And so I'm going to add a label with my blue button in this course. It's down here in my resources section. It's called label. And this is a little snippet of information. I can add images, text, headers, and so forth. And what I'm going to demo here is this interface right here. So where I'm adding my content, I could have a subheading for my course and typing in other text. Right, so that label is, I can save here and have that render in my course. So it's something right here. I'm going to go back in and edit this again. And so the editor tools is this toolbar here. That's what we interface with and manage this content. This very first button here expands to all of my tools, a second row, sometimes a third, depending on the width of your screen. So Auto is, it's actually, it's been around for a while, but we haven't been using that as our default editor for Moodle until this year. And some of the big benefits are ease of use. It's a simpler set of tools. It's also designed with accessibility in mind. The content that is created in this editor tends to be far more prone to be accessible for screen readers and other needs in that respect. It also has a great accessibility checker. So if you have your content from a previous year built and you're bringing it over, you may want to just double check, hey, is this content designed well for those needs?
Can you enlarge this a little bit again, Eric?
Yeah, of course. I'll get this out of the way too.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to highlight a couple of things here. I'm going to change my subheading to be formatted as a heading here called small. So it has some pre-formatted text here. And I might want to highlight that here. And I'm going to do something maybe unprecedented here, which is put a larger one after the smaller one. And I'm going to use my accessibility checker here. So there's two items here. One is to just check all of my content. And it says there's no issues found. And maybe it's not being that picky for me, which is, I guess, fine. The other thing that you can do is, let me see if I'm going to add a quick image here. In your image, and something that's really great is I can drag and drop an image. So here I can show you my, something I'm trying to get rid of. So if anyone wants a mower, you could, let's see if it works. There it is. Oh, it's really big. This is a good example. So this image is quite large. I'm going to, which I dragged and dropped it into that zone, but I'm going to edit my image right here. And people will often have this question, how do I shrink the size or change the size of my editor, of my image? And keep this auto size checked because it'll keep the proportions and not stretch your image. But I'm going to bring this down quite a bit. This is really big. And I'll hit the tab key and you can see it'll adjust my other dimension.
Eric, can you give us some references for those sizes you're using?
That'd be tricky. I would say, nothing. You'll see the results. So this is my width is about 350, and let me go ahead and save that. You can kind of see the context in context of the course.
Is that pixels we're talking about? 350
Yes,
pixels?
Yep, 350 pixels. So that still feels pretty large. If you are looking for good image quality for students to view, I would recommend putting these in a Moodle page instead of in a label, because then it's not going to overwhelm the front page of your section of your course. So I can't give you a hard, fast rule on that. It's certainly something you would want to play around with. You might have a personal preference on the dimensions for the look and feel of your course.
Eric, this is Diane. You lost me when you said it would be better to put it in a page than a label. I don't understand that.
Well, so the content there, the design for me is thinking, if this is a label, it's always going to be on that section of your course page, and it may be relevant for a period of time, but not relevant all the time throughout your course. And so if you have a lot of content or a lot of content that takes a large footprint, it might be worth looking at creating a page to have that information one level down in your course. So you can still view it, but not necessarily be loading every time you are accessing your course page.
Okay, thanks.
Again, personal preference in terms of needs for the course. So I'm going to go ahead and create a page here as long as we're here. And I'll try to do this really briefly because I know we have other topics to cover. The other big tool that I think people will enjoy is the editor where you can dynamically add audio or video and insert that as a feed inside of your content. So I'm going to do that quick demo recording with this recording video button. The other option is recording audio only. So if you want to have an audio message for the week for your students, you can do that here. I'll do video. I'm going to get a window that says start recording. It'll give me an option to record up to 2 minutes of video. I'm recording that right now, taking my microphone. If this is the first time you're using that tool, you might get a prompt to ask for Moodle to have access to your camera and microphone on your device before you begin recording. Once I'm done, it'll give me an option to play that back. You can see a nice 2 minutes of video. And then I can either re-record that or attach this to my page content. It's going to upload that video recording. And then it'll be placed right here in my content. And I'll go, I did this, I put it in the description instead. So I'm going to do a quick, just pretend I put it in the content instead. Let's see if this works. Nope, it didn't. So I'll do one more quick. Sorry, moving a little too fast. There's my recording. And now that video will be available for view on either a Moodle. So this is my Moodle page versus being in my course at the front. And so that, again, that would be really great for your a quick and easy way to provide a weekly announcement without having to use an external tool to create that video and distribute it to your students. I'll stop there and if there's any questions, or we can move on to our next topic.
I have a quick question. This is Kate. Hey, Eric, so thanks for this. And if I'm trying not to overload Moodle, by putting that video in a Moodle page, is that better than putting it on the front?
No difference. Yeah, no difference in terms of the Moodle backend of where you're placing it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really more of a navigation preference for your students' experience. If they're going to, you can hide that label if you want to have it there temporarily, and then it's not always there for the rest of the term, or you can do that. But yeah, that shouldn't make a difference in terms of the resources Moodle is using.
Great, thank you.
Can students do a synchronous recording right there in Moodle? It is not synchronous. No, it's not a live feed like you would experience in Zoom. So this would be an asynchronous method of distributing video content. And yeah, the limitations of 2 minutes is just good to be aware of. And there are other tools, VoiceThread, Screencastify, other tools if you want to create something longer. And you're happy to connect with our team here to give you a specific recommendation for what you're trying to do.
And with the new features in VoiceThread, I think that's a great tool if you're thinking of doing longer presentations. Lots of advantages there.
Okay. Good. So let's move ahead. We have some really nice features in our forum this year. It's a really big thing we've been long waiting for, and I'll let Bonnie introduce you to those features in our forum activity.
Okay, so for those of you who have been using forums, today is a great day because there is finally an integrated system for grading forums that is really, really user-friendly and has, I think, just about everything anyone could want. If you have not used forums yet, now is the time to start using forums. You won't realize how grateful you should be for this new interface, but you know, will make things great. So a forum is an online discussion, and one of the problems is there has not been a really good way of assessing and easily entering grades into the Moodle Gradebook when you're using the forums. So now you have the two advanced grading features that have only been available in the assignment. One is the Moodle rubric, and the other is the Moodle grading guide. The Moodle rubric, let me just, let's look at a Moodle rubric in the assignment. Sorry, I should have had this open already. So what this looks like, you've got your criteria on the side, you've got all your increments, you've got your points, and this works really nicely when you're going to grade, in that you would just click on the particular one and it sort of lights it up, and then Moodle does all the addition for you. In the forum, it works a little bit different, but it's still your same rubric. Now, what I've done is built a rubric template, which is available to you. I'll show you in just a minute. If you want that rubric, or if you want to modify that rubric, you can do that. I want to make it clear that this is not an Augsburg University forum rubric. This is something I just put together because I thought these would be the kinds of things you're looking for. So don't feel like you're locked into using this rubric. You can create your own rubric, whatever. But here's how it works. So here's my forum, and I can, this is a standard forum, and I can just go ahead and read their posts and everything else. But if I want to grade, I come in here, and I've got a lot of humans in my course right now too. But let's go here, and so I'm gonna grade for Christopher Cow. And here's my rubric, and I know it doesn't really look like a rubric, but we've got all of our criteria, and somehow I ended up with 3 timelinesses, or 4 timelinesses. Somebody's been playing with my rubric, it might be me. But here's my criteria. When I click the arrow to the right, up comes the increments. So here's, you can see that this is a 5-point, here's a description of 3.5 points, and then 2 points, and 0 points. 0 points. So if I wanted to give this student full credit for that first, they did that criterion really well. There it is. And I come down, I can open my next criterion. And this there's not quite so wordy, but here I'm going to give them that. My next criterion. So I just checked the radio button. And then unfortunately, I've got all these timelinesses. I'm just going to do one of them. I guess actually I need to do all of them so that the grade goes through. Now, here's the deal. It seems a little difficult here because you think, well, now where's my save? Well, you don't have to save. You just have to click all the radio buttons. If I don't grade all the criterions, it's not going to grade and go into the grade book. But once I do, then I can just advance to the next thing. Now to the next student. Now, the other great thing is while I'm in here grading, I can see all of that student's posts to this forum. They're all right here on the left. If I wanted, this is a reply, Christopher's reply to another student. If I want to see it in context, I can just click here, and here Christopher, you know, responded to Chastity Chicken. I can see what she wrote, and this is his response. This is his initial post, which was the post to my question. And then again, here's his second reply, and you can view the parent post. So everything is right there for you so that you can grade over here. I just think this is really a great advancement. Now there are toggles up here. So if I wanted to toggle and just see the comments, I'm not sure why you would want to do that, but maybe screen, the screen real estate would be that. It also has this other toggle where I can get rid of that bar at the top. The tricky thing is I've got to actually click this to get back to see, all of that. So there's ways of like changing the configuration of the screen so you can see more. So that's the Moodle rubric. The Moodle grading guide is something that I call like a rubric light. What this gives you is, instead of all of the increments, you have the main criterion and a description of excellent work. So when I go to grade in here, you're going to see it looks a little different. I think I've already graded Christopher on this, so let's see. So yeah, so what I get here is it tells me that there's a max of 5 points for this criterion. So I gave him a 3. Now, one nice thing here is we don't have those increments, but I've actually put the increments, those different words, into what's called, I remember what they call these things. Maybe they're additional comments. Okay, frequently used comments. So here they are. If I scroll over, it lights them up. Now, what I don't have here is these first two go with that first criterion. These have to do with clarity, and then there's the ones about timeliness, whatever. So it's a little bit, you've got to think about having that in your mind. But the nice thing is, if I want to use these comments, let me just go ahead and close this up and go to the next one. So for clarity, I gave him 2 out of 2. So I'm going to go down here. Let's say I'm not going to give him full credit. But all I did was I clicked on that additional comment and it went right in to that comment. And then I can also customize this if I want. It has all the same features over here of being able to view the post that they're replying to. You can view the full discussion if you wanted to see that. So once this is graded, let me go ahead and show what Christopher's view looks like. So I'm in right now as Christopher Cow, and if I go over to view his grades, you can see that for the, let's find the forum. Here we go. Q&A forum and grading guide, that's what it's called. And then if he goes in and clicks on it, he's going to be able to see what he got for each one of these criteria. And then it also shows, I didn't show you what he would see as the rubric. But this is really like a very streamlined way. If anybody's ever graded forums, it can be very ponderous to read all of those, grade all of those. But I'm really kind of excited about this new feature. It makes forum grading. We're in the 21st century finally with forum grading, which is a great thing. Were there questions? I'm sure maybe there were. Oops, I'm in the wrong screen here.
So people are feeling very happy right now. That's
that's great.
Hey, Bonnie, can you do a scale instead of point values in the forums?
That's in a rubric. You don't have. I'm sorry. Maybe I don't understand the scale. Do you mean like for this criterion, I can give anywhere from 3 to 5, or?
Yeah. Can you set it up without using points? Is the question? Yeah.
It asks for a point value, but there is a workaround. So let's say I know that in English they've used this, and so some developmental writing, you want to give them the feedback, but you don't want to like have points and like defeat them about with points. So what you can do is you can set up the rubric or the grading guide and just make every increment worth 1 point. That way, everybody, if there's 6 increments, everybody gets 6 points. But they do get the gradation to see like where they stand with what needs to happen.
I think maybe the issue is, or what I was thinking about anyway, because I had the same question, is say you use a 4-point scale, right? And in your mind, 3 is good, 2 is average. Well, Moodle's going to count 2 out of 4 as an F, a 50%, right? So how do you get around that?
One of our grading gurus want to talk about this?
Yeah, I mean, if you've got a single point assessment, I think you want to be, providing you a little bit more granularity. And if you want to think of, instead of, 1 to 5, think about, 1 to 10, but you're really only using 5 to 10, might give you a better result of the end result percentage for what you really kind of think of in terms of an end result. So that's really more math than anything else. I think you can choose to use 1 to 10, but then be cognizant of that percentage outcome and kind of lean your rubric one way or the other, or grading guide for that.
So this is Diane. So I'm gonna have to cave and finally use a Moodle gradebook, which I will do given these times. But I think, just to be clear, because I can work around it, I don't use points, right? And I haven't for a very long time. So I give a paper an A or a B+ or whatever it is, because that's what the final grade is. And so either, if I understand this correctly, I either have to convert it to points and then convert it back to a letter grade, because with some assignments you want to say, exceeds expectations, meets the basic assignment, doesn't. It's that more general kind of feedback rather than, Jennifer's 78 points and Marilee is 72 points kind of thing. But if Moodle can't do that, which is fine, I just need to know that because converting it to points and converting it to back isn't going to be quite worth it. And then when I look at that page that you had for that person, that looked really complicated to me. I mean, it doesn't look like we have clean design in the grading thing yet, if they've got a million things with a bunch of tiny points on them. But it's quantitative, right? That's the bottom line for Moodle gradebook?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll figure it out. Thank you.
Hard to add letters, but yeah, and just a reminder too, those rubrics or grading guides that you want to, if you care to use them, you can tailor that to the number of criterion that you wish to use, even if it's just one. And you can say, here's where this lands and why. Hopefully that might simplify your workflow too.
I forgot to add, to show you sort of how to set this up in the forum itself. So I'm adding a new forum. I come down here to grade. Instead of none, I'm going to say I want points. And then here under grading methods, simple direct method, grading rather, I'm going to say I want a rubric. And let me just show you, if I come here, save and display, I have the option of defining a new grading form or using a template. And here is the template. I would just say use this template. And now I can edit it if I want to. Just say edit here and make whatever changes. So this would be where if I wanted this language, but I don't want to really give, a distinction in points, this is where I would change that to all of these just to 1. And then it would be, the same thing for everybody. If I change all my points values to 1, they would still get this feedback from me, but there wouldn't be any distinction between students as to the score that they would get.
Okay, good. I'd like to go ahead and move on. I know it's great. Probably more discussion about this, and we're happy to take that offline. Let's move on to our VoiceThread LTI, our integration with VoiceThread tool, and we're going to have Nathan give us a review of that.
Hello, everybody. I'm going to try to go quickly here. We are short on time. We've 6 topics and 21 minutes. So,
Sorry.
No, it's a cumulative, and your presentation was great. So, yeah, my name's Nathan, and I wanted to share about this tool called VoiceThread. Some of you may already know about it. It might be new to some. It's something that's not brand new, so why are we covering it? I'll get to that shortly. First of all, I wanted to say that you know, what is this thing called VoiceThread, right? It's a interactive, collaborative sharing tool that enables faculty and students to build online presentations with slides, images, documents, videos, and other media, to which teachers, faculty, and students can add comments for an online discussion. Sort of like a PowerPoint that's narrated, but with an interactive piece between you and the students and each other. Also, it exists all online, so it's very efficient. So, you know, how do you get to VoiceThread? Well, first of all, you go to any Moodle course. This is how we've been getting to it so far. And there's an Augsburg tools block, all these extra tools that you can access from Moodle. And when you click VoiceThread there, I wanted to first point out up in the top left corner here that I am at augsburg.voicethread.com. And that's an important piece. If you were to just go to Google or any search engine and type in VoiceThread, you would end up at voicethread.com, which would not recognize your Augsburg credentials. So going in that way has been much smoother for folks. Then next, just to show you what VoiceThread can look like, I'm going to click on Browse in the upper left, and then Tutorials, and just briefly play a bit of this.
Now let's talk commenting. And all of those options can be found behind this comment button down here. If you're on a computer, you'll have 5 options: text, telephone, microphone, webcam, or file upload. I'm not going to go through all of them, and would just encourage you to try each of them at least once, just to see what they're all about. But let's go through the most common one, which is the microphone. If you're on a computer, you'll get this security prompt when you click the microphone button, and just click Allow, and then you'll see a countdown when the recording begins. If this starts to bother you, you can always skip it by clicking over here. Now that you're recording, you can use your mouse or your finger, if you're on a mobile device, to draw on the screen while you're talking. And I encourage you to do this because it really helps people stay engaged and focused on whatever it is that you're talking about. And if you want to change the colors, just click down here and pick another one. And if you don't want the lines to fade, just click here and they won't fade anymore. Lastly, when you're recording, you can always go to other slides by clicking the arrows down here. And this allows...
Now I'm going to stop there because I don't agree with this advice, this last part. I think if you're going to record on several slides like this, that you should do separate recordings on each slide, because if you make a mistake or you want to make a change later, it's easier to do that on each individual slides. So that's mostly, I'd recommend that. All right, then, you know, what is new here, right? And that is that instead of going to a VoiceThread, you know, you can see, if I exit out of this one here, I already have a bunch of VoiceThreads created, and folks have shared other ones with me. So we're going to go and find this red one here in the new way. So this new way of using VoiceThread doesn't mean that you can't do everything the way you used to do it with VoiceThread. And it's not a new VoiceThread. It's just a new way to access your same VoiceThread account where you've maybe been building VoiceThreads for years. So you don't need to recreate the VoiceThreads. But what you can do now, move the videos out of the way here. I ended up without the editing button somehow here. So when you turn editing on in a course, you can add an activity now. And at the bottom, you're going to see VoiceThread. When you add a VoiceThread, normally you think you would click the select content. That is not going to work for you. instead you do save and display. I'm probably going to run into an issue here because I had to log in as my admin account, which doesn't actually have any VoiceThreads in it, but I'm going to just talk about these conceptually here. So you can now pull in VoiceThreads that you've already made. You can also build a new one here. And the different ways you can pull those VoiceThreads in are, you can pull in all the VoiceThreads that are connected to this course, an individual VoiceThread, which would be the most like the old way of using VoiceThread. You can go to the VoiceThread home, which is that kind of all the VoiceThreads together. I don't know why, I'm not sure why you'd use that. Or this is the one we'd recommend here, this assignment builder. And what that lets you do is pick among some new ways to use VoiceThread. You can tell students that their responsibility for this assignment is to create their own VoiceThread. And then you can grade that VoiceThread, and the grade will go into the Moodle gradebook. Second, you can ask students to submit a comment on a VoiceThread that you have created or that you've put in from someone else. And it can automatically be graded based on a certain number of comments having been submitted by each student. Or lastly, you can watch a VoiceThread, and that would be where you're putting in a VoiceThread with your comments and you're requiring students to watch that all the way through until the end, listening to all the comments. And the benefit of that is there is a grade tied to this, and Moodle will grade this assignment for each student automatically once they finish watching the entire VoiceThread. They'll get 100% of the points available. Certainly you can change that if you have some reason to type in a different grade besides 100%, but that will happen automatically. So that should save you some time. All right, I can't, again, I don't think I can actually add this because I'm not logged in as my regular account because for some reason I couldn't edit this, and I was just editing it before. So that's your overview, quick overview of the new VoiceThread tool. Questions? Okay.
Don't see any. So thank you, Nathan. And I would encourage you, if you are using VoiceThread, to try that out and try to work through building out an assignment builder within your Moodle course, and get familiar with that, because it is a really nice advantage to integrate that into your gradebook for you if you're using that functionality.
Yeah, so now you can do everything from inside of Moodle if you'd like to.
Okay, next we're going to go to the, I believe we have Google Assignment is our next topic, and Christy is going to help us introduce that tool for us.
Yeah, so Nathan, if you're ready to stop sharing the screen, I know I always have trouble finding that button. I need to learn the keyboard shortcut for stop sharing. So the Google Assignment is just another alternative that you can use instead of using the Moodle assignment. And the way that you would add it to your course is with editing turned on. You can click add an activity or resource, and then you would scroll down to Google Assignments LTI. LTI stands for Learning Technology Interoperability. And move I'm going to hide my little toolbar there. Okay, so then add this to the page, and then you would give it a name. I'm just going to call this assignment, and you can select how many points you want the grade to be worth, and then you're going to click Save and Display, because the next step to this process is logging in to the Google Assignment and connecting your Augsburg account with this activity. Oh, and I'm already signed into it. So normally there would be this pop-up that would come up and it would ask you if it didn't recognize that you were logged in with your Augsburg Google account, because we do run on our Gmail, our email is run by Gmail. Then you would be signing into that account, and then this would open up. You can select a due date, though this due date, unlike the Moodle assignment, does not appear on the Moodle dashboard for students. So you could do a trick where you have the Moodle assignment with the due date, and you could actually kind of link to the Google assignment in there. It would be complicated, but if anybody's interested in doing that, I have an idea for how that might work. The originality reports would allow you to see if the student's work was a copy of anything else that's been turned in through the Google assignment LTI. So it wouldn't check the whole entire internet to see if it was plagiarized, but it would check to see if two students maybe had submitted the same paper that were part of the Augsburg area, Augsburg community. And I don't know how this works across years. We haven't really tested it. So, but there is this originality reports, and I believe students can opt out of it. So just to let you know, that is a feature that's available. There's also a rubric feature. It does not integrate with a Moodle rubric. It's completely separate, but you can set up a rubric in the Google assignment. And so this will show me how many students have submitted an assignment and how many I have returned to them. So I can scroll down and see there's no student submissions here. So I'm going to pop over to one where I do have a student submission. And the scroll box is really small, but there is a little arrow that you can click on to open this up in a new tab. And I'm just going to show you here. I can see that Sarah submitted an assignment, and it's in draft status, which means it's waiting for me to make comments and return it back to her. So when I click on her assignment, it opens up in Google Docs. And as you can see, if I click on the side panel arrow to hide it, I've actually gone in and made some comments on here. And then once I've finished making my comments, I can return it to her. There are frequently used comments that you can add in. It's called a comment bank in Google Assignment. So you can add these in, and then if you just type like the first 5 letters of that comment, it'll automatically fill in. And this actually does come across, I think, to different courses when you copy this over. So that's been really helpful for some instructors. And we do recommend using this product for drafting. The benefit this year is the grade that you put in does actually go into the Moodle gradebook. That is working. It stopped working sometime in last year's, but we like it for drafts, and then you may use the Moodle assignment for the final copy. And so the trick with this is just to make sure students are logged into their Augsburg account when they come in to upload files to the assignment. And I don't know if I have another option. So students can upload Word docs or Google Docs. I don't think PDFs will work in here, and they can upload Google slideshows as well as spreadsheets, the Google Sheet format, and they can create a new version of the document that they're uploading, or they can upload something that they've already started to write about in Google Drive. And then if I return this to Sarah, she'll get an email notification letting her know I've returned it, and maybe she can work on those comments and submit it to me again. I would recommend setting up separate Google assignments. So if you have multiple drafts, you would have draft 1, draft 2, and then maybe the final copy, because then it's easier for you as the instructor. You can actually duplicate your tabs in Chrome and look at the papers side by side and look at your comments as long as the student has not resolved them. So you can see if the student did take your advice and make changes to the file. So I'm going to go on in the interest of time to these student resources for instructors to share. These are just newer, not necessarily brand new, but newer resources that we wanted to make sure that you know about and can share with your students. There is a how-to article on how to use the Moodle app on a phone to upload a paper-based homework assignment. It might also be helpful for students to know that they can install Google Drive on their phone, so they can upload a paper that they have stored in Google Drive if they're having trouble with their computer for some reason. And then we have the student feedback video that Bonnie made that covers all of the ways that students can go in and see your feedback given to them through Moodle. And then we have viewing options for participants. So when students are connecting to your class through Zoom, it would be good for them to know about different ways that they can be viewing the course. So it just points out what those settings are. And also make sure your students know about the Moodle introduction course, which is available in Moodle from the student help menu. And with that, I am going to hit escape to get my toolbar back and stop sharing so I can turn it back over to Eric.
Thanks, Christy. I know we are short of time. I think we're going to try to hit what we can, even if we go a little bit over. But certainly, if you need to go, we won't hold that against you. But I do want to show you a couple of items that really I think are helpful for this time in the fall, where a lot more remote learning and teaching is happening, and wanting to know how our students are engaging in your course and finding ways and information and data that helps you as an instructor kind of get a sense of how that engagement is happening or not happening in some cases, and how you can kind of connect with those, reach out to students who might have are falling off of the activity bandwagon. So I'm going to review quickly some reports that you can use while you're in your course, and highlight hopefully one new feature that has a really strong potential for helping you in that effort. I'm going to go jump to my sample course here. And so first we're going to just look at reports. So if I'm in my course, and if you open up your drawer of blocks to the administration block, I just want to, this isn't necessarily new, but very important to have as a starting point, are a list of different reports that you can tap to gather some information about what kind of activity is happening in your course, both from a activity or module standpoint, also from a student-specific standpoint. For starters, I'll start with actually a very basic one. If you actually were to go to your roster block and look at your participants, your list of students enrolled, this is probably something people do quite often as we're getting ready for the start of the term. And just to highlight that you do have the last access of the course for each student is listed here in this column on the far right. You can sort by time of that access. So if you sort by most recent versus the most distant entry for that. And so if you can see if there is a never value, that means that student has not come to this course at any point in time. So that's a quick check that you can do to kind of get an eyeball of where your students are at. And again, that's in your participants or roster block there. Looking back at your reporting options, I'm going to look at something called course participation as a starting point here. And I won't go through all of these. I just want to highlight that this is here. And if you'd like to learn specific information, I can help you find where to get that. So the course participation allows me to look at a particular activity module. Let's say I want to look at the introduction forum for this course. Who is going to the introduction forum and who hasn't? I can choose just my student roles to look at. I can look at the types of actions, either viewing or posting, or all actions. I'll say all actions for this case. And I can actually look back a certain period of time. So if I want to say just in the last 4 days, who's come to this, or if I leave it blank or don't choose a value here, it'll look at all time of that logs exist for this course. So I'm going to click the Go button, and it'll show me what's happened here from a participation standpoint. And I'm guessing not many have gone to this introduction forum because it's not a real course, not any real students. But you would see a value of 1 or 2 in parentheses. If a student has accessed that, it would say 1 or 2, depending on how many times they've done that particular action listed there. You also have activity reports, which gives you more of a course-wide class listing. So this gives me a sense of the standard form with rubric has been viewed 51 times by 3 unique users. This report does include the instructors. So if you are here, you will be one of those view users, most likely in the case of that report. So this is one quick thing. You can also do the logs if you're looking at a particular student. I'm curious about Carl Camel, and I want to see all that was happening yesterday from all activities, and I can ask to get the logs for that student. And it gives me nothing to display. I'll say all days because I think Carl Camel has done some things in the past, and there they are. This may be a little difficult to decipher up front as far as what all this means, but just know that this is a log that is available for all instructors to see what kind of things students are clicking on in their courses. We're happy to kind of sift through what that means. And if you want to have specific questions answered, we can help you through that. One final thing that I'm going to highlight, and it's not really vetted out, it's new for us as an e-learning team as well, and we need more time to vet out what would be really the best ways of using this. But imagine if you had an email notification sent to your inbox if you have certain students that have not accessed your course in the last week or ever, or whatever period of time frame that is meaningful to you. That service would be something that we have the ability to do. It's not something we're implementing site-wide at this point, but if that seems of interest to you, we may be looking at trying to develop some and building out some models to create those kind of notifications to folks who want to use that. We are concerned about maybe adding too much chatter in your inbox for these kinds of things. So, but if it is meaningful and helpful for student success, then it's something we definitely want to be looking at. So I'll just give you a quick introduction to what that looks like before we wrap up. I'm going to jump to a different screen to share. So this is my inbox. This is what a notification might look like. And the terminology, students at risk, that's just a title of the report. We can change that or what that meaning is. But it might say, hey, there are certain students who have met that criteria where they haven't accessed the course in a certain period of time. And then you can view that report in Moodle. It takes you right in to get a list of those students. So that is something that is available as a feature in Moodle for this coming year. And we look forward to talking more about that with you as faculty to see if that is something of value. Please let us know if you're interested in doing that. Okay, I know we are hitting our 11 o'clock time, and actually I know Marilyn had to jump to another meeting at 11. She was going to cover our Zoom integration topic. We're going to glance over that for right now, and certainly like to cover that in a future session if we can. Nathan, would you have time to look at our role renaming to wrap up for today?
Nathan, we can't hear you if you're talking.
Sorry. All right, on to role renaming. Getting back to my course here. Okay. So in Moodle in the past, you have all faculty have been able to assign roles as is needed, something you probably do rarely in your Moodle courses because most enrollments happen all automatically. Teachers are given or faculty are given the instructor role, students are given the student role, but occasionally there are times when another type of role or another name for a role would be handy. So we now have the option to rename existing roles within a course. So the SOAR group is using this, changing the names of the roles for students and instructors. Sometimes folks in nursing have wanted to be like an assistant faculty inside of another course, but not be listed as either instructor or co-instructor. If a lead faculty and like in social work wants to be known as the lead instructor and other instructors as a different name, where you want to add a student worker or admin support or a cohort member or participant, you can now do this under course administration in the upper left corner. I hope you can see that. You click edit settings, and at the bottom, there's an option to type in a new name for student or non-editing instructor or co-instructor. If you assign a new name, it only impacts this one course. And when you save that, then where do students see that? Where do you see that? So if you go to the participant list, which faculty students can also see, you will now see that IMA Augie has a participant role. It doesn't change the permissions for the role, it simply just changes the name for that role. If you have any questions about what all the different roles mean, what they can do and they can't do, we can also always talk about that, but just know that you can now rename these. And there we are, 11:05 a.m. Stopping my share. Where are we at now?
All right, thank you. Thanks, Nathan, for that. So we're wrapping up our session for today. If you have other questions, please let us know. We can, maybe Bonnie, if you want to stop the recording, we can take additional questions from people now if you wish.